And there are some requirements that we need to fulfill before we start creating our game. And as you might have expected, we will be needing the Stride3D game engine. You can find it at their page, which is stride3d.net. And once you get there, you should find the button to download and install the engine on your machine. I would also encourage you to check out the learning section here, where you can find their manual, some tutorials and community resources, which I'm sure can be very useful for you. So be sure to check that out. Also, we will be needing Visual Studio Community, which is an IDE so you can code. Visual Studio Community, it's free and you can use it on your personal projects. So you can download it from this page and install it on your machine. We will also be needing some game elements. These are the images representing the character and the background and all the world elements in the game. And for this, we will be downloading these files from my GitHub repository. So just go to the github.com and add my address here. So it's Emmanuel GF. And once you are in my page, click on repositories. Here you can search for game development assets. It's appearing right away, but if you don't find it, you can type it in here and you should be able to find it easily. So click on this repository, and this is the platformer Ghost Hunter game that we are developing. So just click there, and here you have the background and the sprite sheet. The sprite sheet is a PNG file that contains all the images that we will be using in our game. This includes the character, the various images for the animations, and also the platforms and the world elements here. You can click on this button on the right here and download it to your machine. Also the background, you should download it and have it available so we can start creating our game in the Stride3D Game Studio. We are going to open the Stride3D Game Studio and we are going to create a new project. Click Start. We are going to select a new game and we are going to give a name to our project. For me, it could be Platformer Tutorial. For you, you can use any name you like. And let's click Select. We're going to leave it for the Windows platform in the configurations. Click OK, and it's going to create the project for us. So now we have the main scene here and we have a bunch of assets. These are from the template that was created, but we will not be needing this, so we can select all of these elements and press the delete key, clear all reference, save the project. Next, we are going to also delete these entities here, so select all of them and delete, leaving only the camera, which we will be needing. And we are going to be changing the main scene name to level 1 because we are going to be working on the level 1 of our game. So to change the name, we go to our asset view, right mouse click on the main scene element, and we select rename. And here we can change the name to level 1. Let's save. And unfortunately, this is not updating the main scene up here. So what we need to do is just close the Stride3D Game Studio and open it again. And now the name has changed to level 1. Next, we are going to import our resources, the ones that we downloaded from my GitHub page. So we are going to the assets folder and the solution explorer, and we are going to create a new folder. It's going to be called level 1. And inside here, we are going to put the sprite sheet and also the background image. With the folder selected, we are going to the folder that we download the resources to, and we are just going to drag and drop inside the asset view. So first the sprite sheet, and once you drag and drop it, you can select 2D sprites, and it asks you if you want to include it in your resource folders, and you click yes. And if you want it to be in the default location, and just click yes. And now you have this resource available. And we are also going to get the background image and just drag and drop it. And for the background, we are going to select color, which is a texture. And again, just say yes to have it placed in the resource location. So save the project. You now have the sprite sheet and the background ready to be used. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is a bit of a boring task that we need to do, but it's necessary to have the sprite sheet taken care of, and we have to create each individual keyframes for each element and for the animations. So let's do that next. So going to the asset view, we go to our level 1 folder on the assets folder, and we select our sprite sheet. Once we have our sprite sheet selected, you see we have a one keyframe here, and if we click on it, you can see displayed the sprite sheet with all of the images. But this keyframe, it has all the images in one keyframe, and that's not what we want. We want this to have each keyframe to be in one individual image. This will be necessary for the character animation, for the walking animation, and for each individual elements for the game world. So this is going to be a little boring task, but I'll show you the first steps, starting with the character, and then it's pretty much the same, so bear with me. So first thing we need to do is select this thing here, this one, the magic one, and this allows us to select an individual image. So if we select, for example, the first image of the walking cycle here, and you see that now it only has this image as the frame. So what we need to do is we need to first rename the frame. So this will be the walking right sequence. So let's change the name to walk right. And next we need to create the next frame. So to create the next frames, we only need to duplicate this frame. So duplicate the frame, and now we only need to select the next image that we want. And now this frame contains this image. So if we select the other one, it contains this image. If we select the next one, it contains this image. So you can see how we'll have to make this happen. So we are going to duplicate and select the image, duplicate, select image, and so on and so forth. So let's do that. So duplicate, select the next image, duplicate, select the next image, duplicate, select the next, and the last one. And if we go through each frame, so we have first one, and the next, and the next, the next, until it reaches the last one. So now we going to the next walking cycle, which is the left walking cycle. And for that, we are going to duplicate and change the name to walk left, and now select the next frame. And now it's the same story. So duplicate, select the next, duplicate, select the next, duplicate, select the next, and again until the last one. And we can check if this is all good. So going back, it should go back one image at a time. And these are the walking sequences. So walking right will be from 0 to 5, and walking left from 6 to 11. So when we create the animation, we will reference these keyframes. So next we have also the jumping right and jumping left position, and the idle, so when the character is stopped, right and left. So let's add these ones. So the next one is going to be, so we duplicate and we change the name, and we're going to change the name to jump up right, and we are going to select the jumping right image. We're going to duplicate, change the name, jumping left, and we are going to select the jumping left image. We're going to duplicate again, change the name, and we are going to put the name for the idle position. So idle right, it's going to be 14, and we're going to select the image, duplicate, idle left, and select the image. And that's it. We have the idle left, idle right, jump left, jump right, and the walking sequences. And this is, we are going to reference these keyframes again when we create the script to control our character. And now we have to add all of these to then include them in our game. So this is going to be a long task, so I'll just speed up this part, but the process is the same. So duplicate, modify the name, and select the image that you want. And I think this is all done. I hope I didn't mess this up. So I think we are ready to go to the next step. Let's take care of our camera now. So going back to level 1, the main scene, we select our camera. And first thing we'll need to do with our camera selected is to go to the property grid, and let's set some values here. And let's put the x-axis with 0, the y-axis 0, and the z-axis will be 10. Also, we will go to the camera section here, and we should make some changes. Projection, we'll keep it as perspective, and the near clip plane we'll put 0.6, and the far clip plane we'll put 100, and we can see right away that we have some changes occurring. Okay, and the y-axis on the rotation, we should also put it to 0. I forgot this one. And let's rotate and try to navigate so we are behind the camera, because we want to see what is happening in front of the camera. So using our mouse buttons, we can navigate around, and once you are behind, then it should be okay. Also, we have here a script that is associated with the camera. This script is probably from the template. It's most likely from the template. So you just need to remove this. And also, if we go to the Solution Explorer, to the code folder, we will find the script. So we delete this. This should have been deleted at the beginning, but we can delete it now. And that's it for the camera. So we are now behind of the camera. So everything that we want to show, we have to put it in front of the camera. So the camera is positioned on the z-axis here, and it's 10. So everything below 10 will be put in front of the camera. And I think that's it for the camera. And if we need to make changes later on, then we will come back and make it. But for now, it seems to be okay. To add the background, we just need to right click below the level 1 tree here, and select 2D and background. You can give it any name that you like. I'll leave it as background. With the background entity selected, we should be able to add the image of the background to the background section here. So to add the image is very easy. It's just drag and drop it in. And firstly, we need to go to our assets folder and to the level 1 folder and find our background texture, and just drag and drop it to the background area. And as you can see, this is all warped and it looks bigger than we wanted. So to change this, we just need to check this box where it says 2D background. And now we see that the background is appearing as normal. Also, we can test our camera and see if it's capturing the background. So select the camera, and right away you have the preview appearing on the bottom right corner. And this is one way of checking this, but we can also run the game. So let's run the game now. And a window starts up, and you can see the background is appearing as expected. So this is it for the background. So next we are going to add a platform so the character can walk on top of it, and for that we are going to add a new entity. But before we add it, and to keep things organized, we are going to create a folder. Going to our level 1 scene and clicking on the right mouse button, select folder and just give it a name. We'll give it the name of world's elements. And inside of this folder, all the game elements like trees and platforms and bushes and the hills, all of those things will be kept inside the folder. So once the folder is created, you just click on the right mouse button and let's add an empty entity, and let's name it platform. And now we have our entity created, and if you select it, you can see you have these gauges. These are the translation which you can use to move the entity around. And we also have to reference the image that we want for the platform. And for that, we can go back to our sprite sheet, double click it, and just try to find the platform that we want to be displayed for that entity. And we have it here. So this is the platform number 1, which is going to be the common ground platform. And we'll use this image for reference. To reference this image, you just have to record the number of the frame, which is 16. and then we can reference it. So to reference, just go back, select the platform entity. Let's add a new component in the property grid. Let's add the sprite, a new sprite, and we need to drag and drop the sprite sheet to the sprite section here. So the source is that sprite sheet, and now you can see that image appears. It's our character, but that's not what we want. So you can recall that the number of the platform, the frame, is 16. So just type in 16 on the default frame, and there's the platform that we need. So you, as I said before, you can move it around using the translation gauges. Next thing that we need is going to be the collider shape that we need to cover all the image with that collider shape in order for our character to fall on top of it and not go down, so not go through this platform. Let's do that next. So going to our property grid, we're going to add a new component, and we're going to physics and add a static collider. And once the static collider section is added, we also have an option to add a collider shape, which we will do. So click on the plus sign there and add a box, and you can see right away a box for the static collider appears. If you do this and nothing appears, so you don't see this red box appear, that means that you probably don't have the physics widget activated. So that's going up here to the menu, and you have this icon which is the grid and gizmo options. You just need to check the box where it says physics. So next thing we need to do is to shape this box in order to cover all of the image that we have for our platform. And we want the edges of the box, of the static collider box, to be matching the image on top, particularly on top, because our character will be colliding with that, so he will be walking on top. We need to go to our collider shape section, and first thing we can do is activate the 2D mode, which turns the collider box into 2D, and then we need to fiddle around a little bit with these values in order to get the shape correct. So let's do that. And I think this looks good. There's a little bit on the bottom that's not covered, but that's okay, because the character will not be touching that part, only the upper part of the platform. So that's it for creating our platform and adding physics to it. So let's move to the next part. So now we can add the character, and to add the character we are going to our main scene, and we are going to add an empty entity. This is going to be outside the world elements folder, and we are going to call our character the Ghost Hunter. And already you can see there's an empty entity visible on our main scene. And the position, it needs to be on the same position on the z-axis as the platform, so we can have contact with the platform. And next we need to add the image of the character. So we are going to add a sprite sheet, and we are going to reference our sprite sheet. So just drag and drop it. And you can see that the character already is visible, but we don't want this image as the default frame. We actually want the image where the character is facing the right side, standing still. So let's double click on our sprite sheet, and it should be the idle right. So this image, and it's the frame 14. So let's select that one. Let's go back, select the character, and type in 14. And now we need to add the physics to this character, so he can fall on top of the platform and walk on top of it. So for that we are going to add a new component, and we are going to go to physics, and we'll add a character component. So the character component is a special component that contains functions that are relatable to a character, are common to a character, and we'll be using this component. So just select the character component, and you see you have a bunch of properties that you can change. So, and most important, we need to add the collider shape for this character. So let's do that. We'll add the box, and you can see there's actually, you can't see it very well, but if we put it here, let's just go a little bit closer, and you can see there's a pink box there. We'll make it 2D, and we'll make it also fit the character. So let's do that. And also don't forget to set the z-axis to 0, so it's on the same position as the image. We'll also be changing some of these properties, and we are going to change the jump speed to 10 and the fall speed to 20. And the rest we can leave it as it is, and just let's adjust our character to the right position. Let's put it here so we can see it fall to the platform. And now we can check our camera just to see a preview. So we can see that the platform is a little bit too high. So let's move the platform, not the camera, but the platform. So going to the world elements folder and just lower a little bit the platform. Save this and click the camera, and that's a little bit better. And now we can start the game just to see if the physics is working correctly. If everything is set up correctly, then the character should fall on top of the platform and remain there. And as you can see, the character is on top of the platform and is not falling down. But for now, we cannot move the character. We can't do anything with the character. So the next thing we need to do is add a script to control our character and make it move from side to side and jump around. So let's do that. Now we need to add a script to control our player so we can move it around side to side and jump around. So for that we are going to the Solution Explorer and we are going to our code folder and we are going to add another folder. We are going to create a folder called level 1, level 01. And inside this folder, we are going to add our script. So in the asset view, with our level 1 folder selected, we are going to click on add asset and we are going to add a new script, and it's going to be a sync script. We are going to call our script Ghost Hunter Controls. And once it's created, we are going to double click the script and right away you'll see the code in the file. We can see these red squiggly lines, and this, I don't know why this is appearing, but I suspect that IntelliSense is not picking up the code inside the folder, so something like that. So this seems to be a bug. Anyways, let's continue. So now I'm just going to add the code for the Ghost Hunter controls and explain it later, so I don't bore you to death with me typing. And now that we have added our code, I'm going to briefly explain what everything is doing. And before I start explaining, we can actually go and add this script to our character so we can see all the properties referenced there. And for that, we just select the Ghost Hunter entity and add the component, add the script, and add the Ghost Hunter script. It should appear right away for you. And we can see there is a property of speed that is set to 5. And this is a public property. So if we go back, let's save this, and if we go back to our code, we can see that we have declared a public speed property that is set to 5, and this is the movement of the character. So for default we are setting it to 5, but you can change it going to the property grid. And just keep in mind that everything that is public will appear on the property grid. Everything that is private is only accessible within this code. So going further, every property is set here. Then we have some methods, so let's go through these properties. We have the animation timer and the animation interval that refer to the frame updates and the interval between frames, so you can set those here. Next, we have some properties that are flags, so if the character is jumping, which is set to false by default, it's not jumping, it's standing still. Next, we have a is facing right, that is set to true, because when the game starts we always want our character facing right, since it will always move to the right side. Next, we are referencing our sprite sheet, and then we are referencing our character component, and we also have a property here called platform velocity. This is part of the code that we will add later to control the character when it goes on top of moving platforms. For now it's set to 0, and don't worry about this, I will explain when we add the code later on. So moving on to the start method. This method is where we want to initialize properties. So we want to initialize the sprite sheet every time that the game starts, and we want to initialize the character component. So using the entity.get method, we can do this. Next, let's move to the update method, and this is our game loop. So everything that we put inside here will be ran on every frame change, and we are setting some variables that will change when we do some action on every frame. We have the move direction is set to 0, and then we have the is moving flag that is set to false. Next, we have some conditions that check if we are pressing the arrow keys, namely the right and left keys. These keys will make the character move right or left. And also we are setting the starting frame for the animation sequence. So moving right will be 0, the frame 0. And this will be, if you record, this is from 0 to 5. And these images relate to the sequence of moving right, of walking right. So the move left condition is the same thing, but we are setting the frame to be the 6th frame. So this is the frame that starts the animation for the left walking cycle. And next we have a condition for the jump functionality, and this is checking if the space key bar is pressed and also if the character is standing on the platform. And we have, as I mentioned before, on the character component, we have some special methods and properties that we can use to make this easier. So the character component has a is grounded property that if it's true, then the character is colliding or is standing on the top of the platform. We also update some properties here, and we also set the images for jumping up right and jumping up left. You remember, going back to our sprite sheet, we have images when the character is jumping right or left that we call from the character component. Next, we need to apply the movement to the character. And for this, we also use another special method from the character component, which is the set velocity. And we just supply the move direction and also the platform velocity that is doing nothing for now, but it will still work as fine. Of course, when the character is moving, we need to apply the correct animation or the correct sequence of walking, and this is done using a method that we create called update animation frame. And just know that this method ensures that the animation runs smoothly and using the animation timer in animation interval, and also starts the correct animation from the right frame to the last frame of the cycle, the animation cycle, when it's facing either right or either left. So these are these lines of code here that do precisely that. And going back, we have some lines of code that set the correct image when the character is standing still, either facing right or either facing left. These are the image that we have here, idle right and idle left. And to finish, we are only checking if the character is grounded, and if it's grounding, then we set the flag of it jumping to false. So again, I did not go in depth about every line of code. I've also added some comments to help you out later, and anyway, you can check out this code in the GitHub repository and analyze it further. With this, we can now check if everything is working correctly. So for that, we just start our game. And using the right and left arrow keys, we can see that the character is moving correctly. And also if we press the spacebar, then the character is jumping. And we want to set the gravity to be a little stronger, pulling the character down. So for that, we can change the gravity settings here. And this is going to be the y-axis. So the character being pulled down like this. And we are going to set this to -20. And let's save and run the game again.